Hey everyone, I want to give you a quick update on the most recent NAR settlement that came out this last Friday and what this means to you if you are buying or selling, and what this means in general for the prices of homes. Okay, so basically, there was a lawsuit last year, and it was against the National Association of Realtors, which is NAR, and a bunch of companies basically accusing them of colluding to inflate prices and keep them high on the commission side. And there was a settlement that has happened as of last Friday that was announced, and there are several things in the settlement, two of which I will discuss in a little bit more detail today, because they are the ones that are primarily going to affect buyers and sellers moving forward. So the settlement also, a couple of things to say is the settlement is still needs to be approved by the court. So that is still subject to change, but that's at least what has been proposed so far. The second thing is everything is kind of still in the initial phase, in the preliminary phase. So there could be more changes or amendments to what has been proposed initially. And this is still very fluid. It's still in the beginning phase. So it's subject to change. Okay. Now, with that being said, what are the two main changes? The first one is that the buyer's agent compensation is no longer to be advertised or published on the MLS, multiple listing service. So, as of right now, on the MLS, any listing shows how much of a compensation of a commission is being offered to the buyer's agent if they close on this transaction. That is no longer going to be the case, and the proposed date for that is going to be in mid-July of this year, so sometime in summer. Um, and that one like change is causing so much confusion and misinterpretation, because lots of people have jumped to the conclusion that sellers are no longer going to be paying or offering a buyer's commission, which is not what the settlement says. And it's actually kind of the opposite. The settlement says the seller still can and are able to pay for a buyer's agent's commission, if they so choose. However, this is to be agreed upon and negotiated outside of the MLS. Okay, so it's still, and by the way, this is a good time to clarify that commissions have always been, whether it's before the settlement, before the lawsuit, now, in the future, they're always going to be negotiable. There was never a fixed commission, there was never a fixed percentage. It was always negotiable. So the fact that the only change is it cannot be advertised on the MLS. Okay. Um, so that's change number one. The second point that came out of that settlement that affects buyers and sellers is buyers now, agents are now mandated to have a buyer agreement with buyers before they work with them, similar to what they have with listings. So right now, most buyers don't do that. Most buyers agents also don't do that. Where they have a written agreement between the buyer and the seller, and they just work together until they find a property, and then they're under contract. Okay, so that's going to change. It is now required that buyers have an agreement with the buyer's agent that represents them. This is very similar to listings. So any agent that has a listing has to have a written agreement with the sellers of the property, just going over the details of the listing, the compensation, all that stuff. So this is going to be the same thing with buyers, where they need to have a similar agreement going over what the services are, if there's compensation, and so on. And so these are the two main changes that came out of the um, the settlement. Now, the big question is, does this affect or will this have an effect on the prices? And there's lots of, you know, misleading headlines and I get it, it's clickbait. But anyway, my opinion is it will not have an effect on prices. And the reason is prices will continue to be determined by supply, by demand, by interest rates, by affordability, by uh, the regular factors that have determined pricing so far. And the reason that this is not going to affect prices is, let's say, and this is not the case, but let's say that the sellers pay less commission or don't pay commission. So they're gonna save, let's say, 2% of um, the expenses that they would have incurred on when they're selling on the listing side. Are they now going to say, I'm going to ask less for my home than the comps just because I'm going to be paying less? The answer is no. And they're still going to look at what the comps are, what the homes that have sold in similar to theirs in the community or in the neighborhood. And that's how they're going to come up with the list price that they want to sell at. And therefore, the fact that they're going to pay more or less closing costs will not determine the prices. So I don't think that the prices will change. Because of that, I think the prices will continue to change, whether up or down, just based on the regular factors that affect pricing in general. So I think there's a lot of noise, there's a lot of drama, there's a lot of fear, and that's normal with change. There's always uncertainty, and uncertainty, there's fear. So I think it's normal, but essentially, business will change a little bit, but it's not going to be drastic changes in the idea of buying and selling. And essentially, there's always going to be a need for buyers and sellers and representation for both, because it is extremely important that both the listing has representation and the buyers have representation that is fiduciary to them and watches out for their interests. So this is my take. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. We're happy to help you any way we can, whether it's related to this or anything else in general, real estate related. We are happy to help you. Have a good day, everyone.